Welcome to Receiving Noor, Ramadan Quran Feast. Last week we had our first session on the Quranic view on prayer with Dr. Yamina, who has been our main presenter throughout our Receiving Noor sessions. This week and in the remaining weeks of Ramadan, we have invited guest speakers to join in and share with us their reflections on the Quran. So this week, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Omar as our guest speaker. Dr. Omar has been lecturing and engaging with spirituality for a decade or so. And today he'll be presenting to us his view on the Quranic understanding of human nature and connecting it with happiness and worship. He will present for around 40 minutes or so, give and take. And then after that, we'll open the session up for questions and also for comments. And as usual, I'll ask you to mute your microphones during the presentation, and then we'll open the floor up for Q&A and comment. So without further delay, I turn to Dr. Omar, who kindly accepted our invitation to join us today and will share with us. Bismillah. Jazakumullah khair, Brother Omar.
Thank you so much, Sister Isra. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to I see some names that I recognize and many that I don't. So I am so grateful to be able to spend this time with you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In the name of the most beautiful, most majestic, loving reality, I ask you to bless our time here together and to bring to our hearts the joy of knowing you and to expressing you in our lives. Amen. Okay, so I'm also grateful for this technology. It's wonderful. We are all in different parts of the world, I guess, and we're able to communicate. So this is an amazing opportunity. Today's topic is we are built for happiness, living a totally blessed life. If I were to be asked to present one topic, so when Sister Isra asked me to present a topic, I said what I would really be excited to share. What is one thing that I would really love to talk about, and this topic came out. So I'm excited to be talking about it. There is so much to learn and so much to deepen in this topic, but we're all in this journey, and we hope we will keep going forward in this journey. So when we look at the verse 51-56, I created jinn and human beings only to worship me. This worship, if in order for it to be worshipped, we need to know who we are worshiping. So in a way, it requires an experiential understanding, experiential knowledge of God. Experiential here is critical because we really can't know something we don't experience. Let me give it an example. If I ask you, how does apple taste? And you can read tens of books about it, and you can talk day and night about it. And that's all valuable. That's all maybe knowledge at one level. But if I really am interested in the taste itself, not about the taste, but the taste itself, the only way for me to know the taste is to taste. There is no way around it. Even if you say, it's like this, but not exactly like this. It's so all of these are just close approximations, however the taste itself. So that's why the word here, experiential, is critical. And we come to know this, we come to this experience of knowing the divine through recognizing the divine qualities all around us, within us. So in a way, when we start to talk about the beauty of the divine, and you see a beautiful thing, a beautiful sunset, and you really, really, really taste that divine beauty that is painting that sunset at that very moment, then this becomes more and more experiential. Another aspect of this, and the one that I will concentrate on, is to become the conduit, to express all these divine qualities in a Quranic way, if you want to say, to become Khalifa, to become agent, vicegerent, representative, or to become a conscious reflection of the divine qualities, to express them in my life, to be the place where these qualities are being expressed in a way. So that's where we will focus on. And to talk about this, so I will use several words, and I will try to connect all these together. So what I mean by expressing the divine qualities is really to become an instrument in the hand of the divine, an instrument in a way that becomes the place where the mercy of the divine is shown, the love of the divine is shown, the givingness of the divine, the knowingness of the divine, the beauty of the divine is shown. And that requires an active participation, if you will. That participation is not in a way one-to-one participation, but participating by opening ourselves to become the conduit for the divine qualities to reflect on us. And so, and that's what I call a spiritually aligned life. Spiritually aligned means I am aligned with my spiritual nature, with the breath of the divine that is breath into me, the divine breath into me. So to open myself to that breath, to become the space where the beauty of the divine is being shown. And that spiritually aligned life is the flow, is to flow in the divine stream, in a way to basically, as we recognize that the bird is reflecting the divine qualities, the sun is reflecting the divine qualities, every moment is reflecting the divine qualities, me too, I am also reflecting the divine qualities. So when I say flow, it's the flow of all of these divine qualities. If you think of this world, of this creation, as a sea that is coming from the unknown meaning the divine unknown, the limitless, the infinite divine unknown, disclosing itself in this, if you will, space, and us too realizing that we are nothing but part of this divine flow. So when we really fall into this divine flow, then we start to live a life of active surrender. What I mean by active surrender, and coming back to the verse, active worship, active surrender, is really to realize that every moment, I am called to be a witness to the divine, but also be the place where the divine is witnessed, the place where his divine qualities can be seen. This is to be able to do that, I need to surrender my own confusion that I am somehow independent and separate from the divine, and dive into, recognize that there is a mirror here, and we'll talk about in detail what I mean by this, that as such, when we become aware of our real nature as the potential space where these divine qualities are actively manifested, then we start to really feel fulfilled in life. Because life stops becoming a life of things, a life where I need to interrelate with things, and it starts becoming a life where, wow, it's all coming from the divine, and I am really fulfilled by doing my real duty, which is really being a vicegerent, being a representative of the divine, if you will. This feeling of fulfillment is really not different from feeling of happiness. In fact, whenever we are really happy, we are really in the flow. When I say really happy, like really peaceful, really open. Sometimes, you see somebody doesn't have anything to do with God, and he's just mesmerized by the seeing of the sunset. There is actually, at that very moment, when there is that seeing and happiness, actually the person forgets about himself. So at that very moment, there is that flow. And maybe afterwards, of course, we get confused about what happened. But really, feeling of happiness, feeling of fulfillment is not separate from what we are talking about. And I will actually bring it to very practical examples in this presentation today. And when I say happy, I don't mean not just happy, but I really mean unbelievably happy, really, really happy, feeling totally blessed that I have been given, or in a way, the gift of life is here. The gift of life is reflecting on me. So there is a strong connection between the life that the divine intended for me to live. That is almost, you can say, what is in my DNA, or he has intended me to be his representative, his reflection, his agent. That is the intention of the divine, and being amazingly happy, excited, living a most fulfilling life. These are not separate from each other. We cannot say, I'm actually following the intention of the divine, but I am really unhappy about it. It just doesn't work, because the happiness, the fulfillment of a flower, if you will, is in sending its scents all over, or showing its beauty. That is, you mean, like when you see a flower that did not bring that potential to activity, that potential to reality, you say, oh, that seed had that potential, but it didn't occur, it didn't happen. The same thing, we have the seed to become this beautiful, like this beautiful flower, and show all these beautiful divine qualities. Not show, but actually experience them. Experiencing is, in a way, also a communion, a togetherness. Somehow, it's to really experience the proximity of the divine without space and without time, if you will. So there is no differentiation between the intention, or the original intention of who I am created to be, and living a most fulfilling life. So the reason I'm bringing this is that sometimes it's difficult to talk about, oh, well, am I really living according to how I was created? Is this seed really becoming the flower that it needs? And we can go into some philosophical discussions. But no. I want this to be very practical. Are you really happy right now? It's very, very practical. You say, I'm not really very happy. And that's what we will talk about today. So when we are unhappy, we long for something. Actually, the experience of unhappiness always comes with a longing. If I ask you and you say, I'm unhappy, and you say, I'm unhappy, I say, if you are unhappy, you must be actually longing for something. You say, just yes, actually. The experience of happiness is the same as the experience of longing for something else. And I want to give a very practical example. And actually, I will give a couple of practical examples today, and then maybe we can discuss them as well if we have time, and add some other examples. So let's say you have a difficult relationship with your child. You feel you are not connecting at a deeper level. That's your experience. That's what you have. That's your experience in the world. And because you have this estranged relationship with your son or daughter, let's say, what you do, what you act as a response to it, you say, I just will do the minimum because I can't stand right now being around my child. When I come, she always disrespects me. I don't feel any word I say. I feel like I am not wanted there. So that in itself end up in me acting in a way to minimize this relationship. So when I ask the question, how do you feel? What are you inside you feel about this? Now, you can say, I'm unhappy about it. This is completely unhappiness for me. I am angry at myself. Maybe I am blaming myself. I am blaming myself for not doing it right. This is an example. You can be not angry, but you can be sad. You are disappointed at yourself. You feel like, oh my God, I suck in this parenthood experience. I am not the best father for my kids or the mother. This is very sad for me. Or you might say, I am so scared. I am so scared. What will happen to my child? So we live in a way in this realm of unhappiness in this experience. This world of unhappiness is full of blaming. Mostly it's blaming myself, blaming ourselves. Sometimes it's also blaming the other. Actually, they work hand in hand. It's like a reflection. But deeper, there is really a deep blame. Like there is something I did wrong. I have to be almost a feeling of I have to be punished about it. That is really there in the background. Or it can be a shaming kind of a world where you are, oh my God, I'm so ashamed of myself. What did I do? I don't want anybody to see my relationship with my kid. They will judge me. In fact, I am judging myself right now for all of this. Or a world of constant criticism. Criticizing my kid, criticizing myself. So totally a life of unhappiness. Now, here, if you see, I categorize, and this is for simplicity. You might say maybe there are other categories, but there is a real experience inside of me, and that's how I'm being. And as a person who is being, I do things. So, and then I interact with this world that is in front of me. Now, at the deep depth of my being, there is no support. There is only me. And there is no one there to actually support me, to help me with that. Now, how will we get out of this? So, alternative of this picture is if I ask you, and of course you need to be open to it, we need to be open to this kind of questioning. There needs to be self-honesty and enough patience to have to do introspection. So if I ask you, what would you really love to have? What kind of world, or what kind of, in this case, it's a relationship with my kid, what kind of relationship would you really love to have? Say, I'm not asking you what is possible. I'm asking you, what do you dream about? And this is very different, because many times, actually, we stop ourselves from dreaming because we say, get real. And then this is the reality. I have an estranged relationship with my kid. What else can be possible? But if I ask you, just dream about an ideal world that you would like to have. You say, maybe I love to have this intimate connection with my kids. And I say, if you have this intimate connection with your kid, what can you do? Like in this kind of a circumstance, what will this enable you to do? If I have this intimate connection and I see my child, instead of giving up or not being able to talk to my child, of course I would like to guide him and prepare him for life and give him maybe, this is just example, maybe walk side by side with him, tell him what's going on in life, being vulnerable with him, telling him about some of my mistakes that I've done and how I want him to be. So there is some kind of a doing that is related to my dream of the world that I want to do. But when I ask you actually, what will you feel inside? Why do you want this? You say, I am longing for, this is a longing type of a question. I'm longing to outpour my love and protection towards him. I really feel that is what I'm longing for. There is that potential inside of me to become all the love I can be, all the protection I can be to my child. That is the longing. See, with every unhappiness, there is a longing that we are looking forward. This longing has different aspects. And the deeper aspect of it is what we are really longing to have as an experience, to be really inside of us. So then if I say, okay, is this a happy picture for you, the one on the right-hand side? You'll say, this is a wonderful picture for me. I'm looking forward for this. So I would say then, stay with it a little bit. Stay with that feeling that you want to be this outpouring of love, this outpouring of protection. And when we, just before coming back to the happy state, I want to talk a little bit more about the unhappy state. The unhappy state is really similar to this, where we live in this world where there's anger, sadness, fear, and there is this longing towards happiness, although it might not be conscious, but it is there if we do the introspection. And in fact, if we go deeper in this, we will realize that all of our longings, all of them, and I actually stress the word all of our longings are always cries for the divine qualities to be expressed in our lives through us. I'll stress this point. I'll go over it more and more, but let's continue with the example. So let's say we are unhappy now, and what we can do is basically we can turn to the divine for help. We can turn to the divine for help, knowing that God says that God does not change the condition of a people unless they change what is in themselves. Saying it again, God does not change the condition of a people unless they change what is in themselves. Now, when we connect with this outpouring of love and protection and take time to really feel it, feel what it would be like in our heart, in our body, in our mind, we start to realize actually that I can have support in this, the support of the divine qualities of tender love, of compassion, of mercy, of wali, of friendship, of trusting, of protection. They all are actually waiting. It's almost like bubbling up inside of us, waiting to be expressed in our lives. And when we make that connection deep in ourselves, and we take the time to feel it in our body, then we start to say, well, how about me first be this way? And if I become that, then I can become the expression of this love and protection in my daily life. So by guiding my child, by loving my child, by preparing him to life, these are just examples. See now, the being, the energy that I find from within becomes what is expressed in my life. And what happens if I start really connecting with my child in this way? I am building the life, I am building the world that I am dreaming about, which is to have an intimate connection with my child. So what we basically have to do here is to take the time to experience that divine quality that we are yearning for, that it is actually there, waiting to be expressed. This needs some time, this needs some feeling as well. It's not, okay, I know this, I'll just do it. No, no, no. It really requires my whole body, because many of the unhappy energy, if you will, is stored in our nervous system. It's stored like a memory almost in our body. So we need to stay with the divine, feeling that, are you supporting me in becoming an outpouring of love and protection to my child? And stay with it. And then let that bubbling, you feel this tingling sensation. Sometimes you feel this enormous energy in the solar plexus, or in your heart, or in your body, that you feel almost like an energy coming inside of you. So we need to take the time to feel that, to experience that, this tender love of the divine, this quality of the divine is actually entering, is almost like being expressed experientially in my life. And ask the question, do we feel that the divine is supporting me in being the expression of his love, of his friendship, of being protective to my child? Do I feel this? Now, when I ask this question, we need really to take time to receive the answer. And when I say to receive the answer, I really mean it. I mean that when we stay with that silence, when we ask this question, many times we will feel the support is coming through, as I said, a tingling sensation, some kind of a knowing, an internal knowing. Of course the divine will support. Will the divine support me to be an outpouring of love, or to be blaming myself or my child all the time? Of course he is going to support me in outpouring of love. But this is not information. If it stays in information, we are not taking enough time to let this experience be felt in our body. Because when it is felt in our body, we immediately feel the energy and the spontaneity to act accordingly in a wise way. And this brings us to a very interesting point, that we need this constant divine remembrance to realize this life. Now, I use the word here, constant divine remembrance, in a very practical way, which is what? Which is to realize that the divine love, in this case, that's the quality that I am yearning to be expressed in me. I need to be open to that quality of divine love, to continue to express it. I need to be aware of literally, the breath of the divine, the breath of the divine love in my life. I need to realize that energy wants to be expressed through me. And I am opening myself to it. See, it's almost like I am opening the gateway. And that's how I use the word surrender. Like I am surrendering literally to the flood of love of the divine. But through this connection, through this prayer that we are turning towards God. and waiting to feel that. And how did we arrive here? By looking for our longings. And in fact, our longings always will point towards the divine. So what will be the result of this? It will be a life of gratitude. Oh my God, I thought I was alone. I thought I was by myself. I thought I was without support. And in fact, that was all when I realized I was unhappy. Because the moment I am unhappy is the moment that I think I am by myself and I am left to my own energies, which is limited, which is actually nothing, if you will. But when we turned and when we realize what we are longing for, the life of happiness, we realize that the divine is always there waiting to support me to live that life, in fact. So it is a beautiful discovery. The discovery that the divine is in my team. He wants me to be this amazing parent that I also long to be. And sometimes we won't feel this divine support. If we don't feel this divine support, and we don't have time today, but it might be an invitation to expose another limiting belief. Maybe you say, of course the divine won't support me. Who am I? I am a worthless person. So, okay, that's, again, clearly there is something there. So we need then to, what would you long to be? I would long to be special for the divine. What would you do if you are special for the divine? I would just, be so happy and so grateful. What are you longing for? I'm longing for this feeling of friendship from the divine. Well, are you supported in that? See, there's always within that longing a prayer for a divine intervention, a divine presence, if you will, a meeting with the divine. To almost, we are yearning for the divine to outpour, to transform our life. But unfortunately, many times we thought this will come from outside. And today, what we are talking about is it's all coming from inside. Exactly like this verse is saying. God does not change the condition of a people unless they change what is in themselves. So to compare between the two, now you might say, okay, sometimes I go to my, let's say you are unhappy in this relationship. You might say, I go to my child and I try to be nice to him, but he shuns me, he shuts me down. And the question that I will say, how were you when you approached him? Were you really open and outpouring of love, almost excited in this intimacy with the divine? And oh wow, I want to share this with my son or daughter. Or were you like, oh my God, will he shut me again? Oh my God, if he shuts me again, I don't know, what will I do? I am so scared. And then you open the door, and there is no energy, there is no life, there is no light, there is fear, there is the opposite of intimacy. So your child, when you say, oh, please close the door after you leave the room, you might say, oh. So the solution is not in changing this by itself. Because unless we change from within, the changes here won't matter. In fact, we can't even see them because of how we are experiencing from within. And when we are experiencing this, it's almost like an energy vibration that we are vibrating towards ourselves by loss of energy and towards around of us by this energy. Whereas here, we're basically sharing this divine energy that we are receiving, that we have received, that we feel that we are in constant actual reception and exciting to be there. Now, you might not have an intimate connection with your kid yet. However, happiness is not in having the world you want, but in knowing that you are striving towards, you are expressing the world you dream to have. And this is a very important distinction. When we are connected and we are acting according to this connection, we know that we are contributing to the life that we dream of having. Maybe the other side might not be receptive, but we know that we are actually we are fulfilled by what we can do, which is the opposite of what is here. Basically, here we have this huge potentiality that we are not seeing in any way. So let me continue with another example, just to make this point clear, because I want an important part of this talk today that I'm giving is to show the close connection between the practical experience of our life, which is being happy or unhappy, and our connection with the divine. Let's say we realize we live in a chaotic world. Every day, if we use the news, oh my God, we become so depressed. We say, I want to give up, nothing matters. What should I do? Nothing I would do would matter or anything. And we would feel depressed, or we would feel sometimes very angry. We would blame the world, or sometimes we blame ourselves. We blame the politicians, or we blame ourselves, if I did this, I did that, and all of that, and things of that nature. Whereas if I ask you, are you open to long for your dream? Are you open to dream about what you wanted? And that's very important, to be open to look for what we are longing for. And instead of giving up, what would you really long to be doing? I would long to act with justice, with love, with peace, because I want this world where love is everywhere, where justice is everywhere, where I see these people hugging each other everywhere. This is the world I'm dreaming about. Who would you be in this world? What would you be feeling inside of you? What will be your experience in this world? I would feel total feeling of fulfillment, because I feel this total peace, total love, total compassion, total feeling that, justice is being served, and wow, and actually compassion is higher than justice, and people are forgiving each other, and all of that. So now, again, we can go and turn to the divine for help. Turn to the divine for help and say, will the divine support me in my longing to be the expression of his love, the expression of his peace, the expression of his compassion, the expression of his justice? If I feel that, and I stay with that, and I spend time with that, and I marinate, if you will, with that, then I would actually spontaneously become a place where the action of justice, of love, of peace is there. Because I am longing for this world where love and justice are everywhere, where peace and beauty are everywhere. I don't know if I will see it or not everywhere, but at least I know fulfillment is actually in being able to act, to live a world that is true to our inner nature. And I'm contributing to it. I don't know. This is not up to me, but I am part of that. I know that that's where I am acting towards. For instance, let's say you really feel the earth crying because of all this waste that's going onto it, all of this waste that is dumped. And it really, 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 really makes your heart feel that pain. So what will be? You'll say, oh, nobody is doing it. This is chaotic. I give up. It won't matter. You will become depressed, or you become this angry person, or you become this blameful, whatever. Whereas when we realize that, what is it that I'm longing for? We realize that, wow, in fact, the divine, what I am longing for is exactly what the divine has put as a program in me. He didn't leave me alone. He didn't leave me without a compass. He put the compass, and the compass is actually in my emotions. All my emotions are sacred. When I feel this depression, being depressed, it doesn't mean I am a bad person. It means my body, my system is working perfectly. It's telling me, there is something that you are looking to fulfill, but you are not. You have not been. You have not been able to fulfill at this part of your life. Introspect and then ask the divine to help you. As the divine says in the Quran, and the friends of the divine, there is no sadness or no fear that comes to them. In a way, it doesn't mean it doesn't come at all. Maybe some completely awakened beings, and that's their experience. However, we know that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to turn to the divine at least 70 times a day, which in a way, in this context that I'm talking about today, it makes me feel like each moment we feel less than 100%. It's an opportunity to look for this expansion, because the divine qualities want to be expressed in different ways. It's not like, okay, I am expressing them this much today. How about tomorrow? Every day we wake up is a different opportunity to know a different aspect of the divine. And the best the divine teaches us about himself is by expressing, by reflecting his divine qualities on us. Today, this is what I understand from the meaning of love. Tomorrow, wow, there will be maybe a challenging experience. And you will be, wow, I didn't know that love is that big. And then the other day, oh my God, now I need to realize that there is no limit to the growth, because there is no limit to knowing the limitlessness of the divine qualities, if you will. So, in a way, I would say, the life that the divine is inviting us to is a life where we are not defined by our limits, but each time we come to a limit of ourselves, we are able to go back to the divine to ask for help, and then he comes back through our longing to outpour his divine qualities that he promised us to outpour. That's actually the definition of being a human being, the place where the divine attributes are manifested. So in a way, then, we can, the way to happiness is slowly and slowly to stop limiting ourselves and almost become undefinable. Because as you see here, let me go back to this, there is almost like an opening here where when we stay out of the way, surrender, open the floodgates, the flood of the divine opens. And we don't know how big this is, because this is not of our own accord. We are witnesses, actually, of the divine, even in our lives. Even if we are the active doers, we realize, actually, that it is he who is doing. And we are, that's why gratitude becomes the automatic outcome of it, because oh my God, like, I didn't even dream I could do this. Am I doing this? And then we realize, like, how can I create any of this? This is all the divine happening, in a way, if you will, in our lives. So by stopping this defining ourselves, limiting ourselves by these limiting beliefs, and once we are ready to open ourselves to this life, the divine will show us actually through emotions, through experiences, through how we feel in our body, the places where we need to open ourselves more and more towards Him. And the more we open, and the more we become the expression of these divine qualities, we become so happy. We feel so totally blessed. And when I say happy, I talk about real happiness, real, like happy. I want to emphasize on this. And I want to end with, I think we're already 45 minutes. I want also to hear from you. I want to end with this beautiful saying by Rumi, where he says, "You are not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. Learn to use them and fly." In fact, these wings are divine wings. Learning to use them is learning to turn back to the divine, so that He carries us. He gives us that energy, that He expresses His divine qualities in us. And then instead of this life of crawling that we limit ourselves in, we realize, oh my God, I didn't know life is so colorful, because now we are flying. So I would like to stop here and see if there are any outbursts, comments, questions, anything in your mind, that any part of this that wasn't very clear, or any place that you thought needs some more explanation. I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Omar. Very, very interesting and insightful. And yeah, as he has just said, the floor is open. You're welcome to ask questions or share comments. It's a beautiful conversation that Dr. Omar started for us here. So please just feel free to unmute yourself and talk.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Omar.
Alaikum salam. Alaikum salam, Dr. Yemina.
So I don't have really questions. They are. It's a comment. It's really. I'm going to maybe say what you shared with us, some of the points in a language that maybe our audience is more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kept saying like happiness, like true happiness, and I felt maybe because we use the word happiness as laughing and having fun, and we assume usually that in order to be happy that way, it means there is no hardship, nothing, everything is going my way all the time, which goes against what you've been saying, to surrender to the divine will. So here it's more about an inner peace, being at peace with what's going on and accepting what's going on, and it's an inner full total surrender. It's a mindful conscious surrender. So the resulting joy and inner peace, I think, is what you are calling happiness, just to make sure we are not misunderstanding.
Yes.
Not partying every day, right?
Yeah. So in fact, many people who laugh and sometimes just make crack jokes to laugh. Sometimes when I watch a movie and there are people in the bar and they are laughing, and I watch that scene, and many times I see many actually depressed people that are trying to crack jokes to force themselves to laugh.
Or maybe
so I'm not
release their sadness, or
yes. So I'm not saying in a way that we have to force ourselves to laugh, but I'm saying a real lasting inner fulfillment, which sometimes is really spontaneously laughing and ease of being,
yeah.
And sometimes
even within hardship, because
yes.
the material conditions may seem hard, but the muhsin, the one who lives in the presence of God, is mindful that all is fine. He knows that, he experiences it, and therefore there is that inner peace and inner knowing whatever is going on. And maybe conduit, we've been calling it sometimes the channel. Imam Nursi rahimahullah calls it mamar, which is maybe closer to channel, or he calls it a conscious, mindful mirror to the divine, to the reflection of the divine names. And of course we understood that the divine here was God subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you mentioned a few times opening ourselves to become conduit, it's really in another way we could say opening ourselves to surrender to the reality, and the reality is the expression of the divine will here and now. And so so that flow to have a fulfilled life even in hardship, that flow is that conscious surrender, because they cannot be surrendered to the divine will unconsciously, unmindfully. And it's only when you gave the example of someone who may not even believe in God, but is totally mesmerized by a sunset, that's the fitra expressing itself. However, for that fulfillment, for that inner peace, for that surrender to last, it has to be done intentionally, purposely, consciously. And the gratitude for the gift of life, I thought, since you talked about the being and doing, in the beginning, it seems like we are given life and we may be grateful for that, and that's fine, that's good. In the beginning, that's how it happens, it starts. But the more we start coming from that state of being alive, so it's not like I am and I am given life, but it's who I am now. I am experiencing the name of God, is one of the Asma al-Husna, Hay, the living. And so there comes a point when we don't experience it as something given to me, but something experienced. And it becomes a way of being. And that way of being is itself an expression of gratitude, an expression of awe, an expression of surrender, as you have explained. And when it comes to the longing, I think longing is very important, especially in the Islamic tradition. There is a lot of talk about longing. It's an important concept. So in the beginning, it may be longing, this is my feeling, my understanding, or my experience is that at the beginning, longing is often we'll experience it with a sense of unhappiness. But that's only until we start living consciously. Of course, living consciously is going to be, it's a journey. So we may be conscious in some parts of our life and not in others. But the more conscious, the more mindful we are, the more mindful we intend to surrender to divine will, that longing and that dreaming, that longing for being conduit, as you said, that longing for surrendering to divine will is made known to us, you said. So it's made known to us through two channels. One, through the fitra, through the way, as you said, through our emotions and the way we are, and through the Sharia al-Qur'aniyya, through the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. For instance, be kind, help people, how to be compassionate to your children, to your neighbors, to your family, etc., etc. So that inner GPS, that inner guidance that you talked about, is happening here and now. It is the expression of divine guidance. So divine guidance doesn't come only through the Quran and through the Sharia, but also through the fitra, as we keep repeating and receiving nur. So we are being guided, and that's why the longing never ends, because There is no limit to knowing God, who is limitless. And so not only the intensity will change when we become mindful surrenderers, when we start living with ihsan at different levels, we become more and more mindful, conscious. Our longing also becomes mindful and conscious. And so it becomes a form of dua, a form of prayer. When it is unconscious longing is we feel like something is missing. And so it makes us unhappy, unfulfilled, limited. But when it is conscious, the longing becomes a dua expressed through our way of being. And it's one of the strongest dua if we are conscious of it. And so our vulnerability and our limitlessness becomes the mirror to our limitedness becomes the mirror to limitlessness. And our vulnerability becomes a mirror to al-Asma al-Husna, to divine, beautiful attributes. And so, for instance, my powerlessness is what makes me taste and appreciate and know and experience my Rabb's power and compassion and protection, for instance. So there is another point that you mentioned, and I just want to rephrase it so that it stays in everyone's mind because it's so important, which is we choose who we are. I get to choose who to be. And that's not dependent on external conditions, because usually we say, especially when we are having a hard time, there is a crisis situation, like you said, my child is misbehaving, is nasty to me, then it feels like I ask people around me, what do I do? And I always now, since I learned it through my own life experiences, do not ask what to do, ask who you choose to be, because the doing only follows the being. Otherwise, it will not come, as you said, like you say, I'm going to be kind to my child, but there are all these fears and everything coming with it, and the ruh feels the soul, or Allah knows, so He tests us accordingly. So who I choose to be is not dependent on external conditions. I can choose to be loving, forgiving, patient, regardless of what my child does, inshallah. And it's only then that I can act patient, because it's the relationship between me and God, and my child is the conditions that where I am reflecting who I am in that particular situation. And I know, so you said, you talked about feeling and energy in the body. I just wanted to make sure that that's how we feel it. However, the energy wants to be expressed through me. I just want to make sure that the energy is not the divine love itself. It is the manifestation, the physical manifestation of the divine love, of names of God, such as loving, al-Wadud, merciful, Rahman, Rahim, affectionate, Ra'uf, within me. So the tingling, whatever you feel, we know this when we feel happy about something. It is the manifestation of a divine name, but it's not, the energy is not the name. The energy is itself a manifestation. I know you
Sure.
didn't mean that, just want to make it clear.
Yeah, just to re-emphasize that, because that's a very important point, is that the divine is really, as we say, actually the divine unknown. So this divine unknown makes himself known to us, and anything that we experience is a creation, is an expression, is
Exactly.
really a creation. Yes. Thank you so much for this clarification.
And so how do I know? Because you talked about, I know then, I experienced the love, the divine love, then, for instance, in that particular experience. And that's because I already experienced God as the helper, the merciful, the protector in other instances in my life. So I had already tasted the beautiful divine names and Isma al-Husna, and that's why I recognize it, because it can be misunderstood. Like I did not feel anything, or I felt something, but I didn't feel to me like divine love. Well, this is because you have to be, last week when we talked about the meaning of dua and prayers and supplications in the Quran, all this has to be understood within or against the background that everything is a reflection, reflecting the divine names. Everything is an ayah, is talking about God and his beautiful names. And so if I, to the extent that we experience the world in that way, then when I feel whatever I feel in my body, it becomes for me a means to experience divine love, for instance. And so,
yes, Dr. Amy, did you have something? I think I see some raised hands. Zafar Abi seems to have a raised hand. I don't know how this works.
Go ahead. Go ahead, okay. Inshallah. I think.
No. Did you stop? Because there was a silence.
No, I just wanted to add maybe please. Happiness. You said happiness is knowing my dream. I would say happiness is knowing who I am as abd. And therefore, the happiness is in experiencing the rububiyyah, and I can only experience this when I experience myself as abd. Then I get to experience rububiyyah. Rububiyyah means I have a Rabb. He takes care of me. It means I become sensitive and responsive to the divine names, to feel them and experience them, and to reflect them and let them be reflected through me. So because the dream is my dua for the conscious abd. My dreams are my dua. If you remember Yusuf alayhi salam at the beginning, it starts with a dream and the dream being fulfilled. But Yusuf alayhi salam never runs after his dream. The dream is fulfilled unto him because things are done unto us. So we know the dream is the dua, is to know, to remember that I have a compassionate Rabb, a forgiving Rabb, a powerful Rabb, an all-knowing God who hears me, who listens to me, who responds to me, who fulfills my dreams for me. And then I realize that the dreams are from him anyway. So he's the one who giving me the dream and the need, so that when it is fulfilled, I know that it is from him. And therefore I find my Rabb here in this world and forever in Akhirah. And that's the true happiness. So I just thought maybe we can take it one step beyond the dream, because the dream is the key for me to get to know my Rabb. But without knowing my Rabb, that happiness won't be lasting. Thank you, though. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Amina. So Zafar Abi has a raised hand. So you just talk, I think. But I don't know how it works.
Yes, just go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yes.
Thank you for a nice talk. I appreciate your example and explanations, and it is when you take the attitude as you discussed, it becomes clear that the child is not given to us as a burden to carry throughout life. It is given to us something to enjoy, something to cherish, something to get us closer to our reality. And so is the life that we live in is not supposed to be a burden. We are meant to be happy here, or work toward it. My question is more about our nature, which is we understand that we are created as students of reality. Students because there is no end to our abilities, the more we improve our abilities, the more capacity we find ourselves in. It is as if, unlike everything else, we are students of the universe, the creation. And so, of course, we need to ask, if we are to use the feeling of happiness as a guide, then we need to ask, what is the thing that makes a student most happiest? It is that condition that the student finds itself in, where there is a great teacher, a great curriculum, and a great institution, and the student is taking full advantage of all these resources. And every year, the student sees evidence that he is learning the subject at a higher level, right? If I see that as a student, then I am happy. I know that I am working toward my goal, maybe graduation and becoming something, but I know that I'm getting constant feedback, that I'm improving on a day-by-day basis, and I have my evidence. And so there's no question about, there's no reason to be unhappy, because that's my purpose and I'm working towards it. So it is nice to say that, hey, we're here to know our Creator. We need to open ourselves to become conduits to the reflections of the names of God. But where is the evidence? That's what concerns me the most.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I getting constant feedback, constant evidence? Because as a human being, without evidence, whatever attitude I take, it won't be long lasting.
Yes. So thank you for the comments and the question. Maybe because I wasn't the perfect student at school, I actually like to use another metaphor, which is I think there's nothing wrong with the school metaphor. It's just that sometimes it doesn't bring all the positive feelings that it needs to bring. The way I see it is almost like there is this guide that is showing us this beautiful exhibition. And the way I see this exhibition, because I really love to go to different places, is someone that is always showing us new places to see. So I'm always like, oh my God, this is also here? Wow, this is so exciting. Wow. And then he says, and the more I am excited, the more he says, you know what? There is another place here. Just go this way. And oh, wow, I didn't know that this was such a... So there is, of course, this learning that is happening because we are growing in our level of appreciation of this exhibition. And through... when do we know that we stopped? We know we start when we start to be not excited anymore. And excitement, the reason I'm using this word is I'm trying to use a little bit non-religious words. The reason is sometimes I feel some religious words are so full with so many meanings, so it becomes difficult to talk about them. But for me, grateful, being the feeling of gratitude towards God is full with excitement and this feeling of oh my God, I am being taken care of. I am being shown new experiences. This is such a ride. And of course, this ride, as Dr. Yamina mentioned, doesn't have to be always the easy thing. Sometimes there are challenging courses in this exhibition, but the challenging courses in the exhibition, I go to many parks here with my kids, and they enjoy these challenging exhibitions sometimes even more than the non-challenging ones, because they are being, if you will, many of their senses are being connected to that challenge. So in a way, when I feel that challenge, then it means I am still in this process of increase of appreciation, increased So a good example would be for me is if, let's say, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and one day I wake up and I say, you know, I've been just doing this with my son, but I really feel I want to take it to another level. And when I ask this question to myself, I was like, what can I do? I said, oh, we can go for a trekking together, walk together, and have not just experiences in the house, but me and my daughter walking or biking together in the forest. And I think this will really increase our bond, because I am longing for this feeling that we are living this life together, and this feeling of real intimate friendship that I don't want to go away. So here we are seeing that, yes, maybe I'm a great father, but again, if I'm open to growth in life, then the divine God will show me that his attribute of the divine wali in relationship with me and my daughter is not what I am doing only. There is much more to it. So when I'm open to that, then he's basically inviting me to new exhibitions, and I'm like, again I feel that my senses are being called to duty, and sometimes I'm not sure I am ready for that. See, this limitedness in me is calling me towards saying, maybe why do you feel so? Because I feel I'm not supported. I don't feel I'm supported. I will be by myself in this situation. So again, opening myself. So this is a simple example, but how can we know? It's by gauging. Every day we wake up, are we as excited to be alive today or not? If not, what is it that today I am fearful of, or I am disappointed about? Oh no, today it's a appointment with the dentist, or oh no, today, there is this thing and I don't like it. Okay, see, there is here a challenging course, a new exhibition hall that I'm invited to. How can I become an expression, a conduit of the divine now with this? What is it limiting me? So this checking in on a daily basis, I find it to be very helpful.
And just to connect with that, I know Sister Esma is waiting, so I'll turn to her, and then anybody else who wants to speak we can continue the conversation. But I just wanted to add on to this this question about evidence. How do we know? And in receiving we keep talking about evidences and signs pointing to God, and there are inner and outer, and they're linked. So inner evidences, the ones that we find within ourselves, pointing to the Creator with his beautiful names, connected with the signs in nature, in the universe and the world, that is pointing to the Creator. And I think one of the evidences for me, which Dr. Omar has been focusing on, the inner world, and that becomes a major evidence pointing to the divine for me in its limits and in its vulnerability. Something I actually wanted to highlight a bit more, because it's there that we find that there's something more than us. So when we are scared, when we are terrified, I can't do this, this is beyond me, I'm disappointed, I'm depressed, that is the evidence, because that part in human being, that deeply vulnerable part, and yet I'm longing, I want something more, and I'm looking, I'm craving for beauty to manifest, whether it's the beauty of the name of Rahim, the merciful, or the name powerful. I am longing for it, but it is at the same time, that's important to highlight, that I am deeply, deeply vulnerable. That's why I'm scared. And yes. Then when it comes through me, oh my God, I'm so scared. I didn't think I could do this. And that is real. That is real, in the sense that who am I to do anything? I don't even know. I don't even know how my finger is moving. And the other day we were looking at a TED
Isra,
Talk.
Isra, can you pause there? Because I could say, oh, I did it. And what you are saying, you are pursuing the option of, it is done unto me, because I can't even move my finger knowingly. So it becomes your evidence that despite my limitedness, something unlimited is being reflected, manifested through me. So I become actually the witness. There is no more. حق اليقين, I become the witness, and the evidence is myself, me, is what's happening within me, right?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to highlight, and I think it's already present in what Brother Omar talked about. But I wanted to really bring it out. That's the evidence, because there's so many ways of misinterpreting this. You know, we are terrified, and then you go in and do that thing that you're terrified with. We can come around and say, well, I did a fabulous job, it's mine, and then they're all kinds of new age vocabulary for this, you know.
I worked hard for it.
Yeah, or like these, you know, there's new age vocabulary for it too. You know, you have you are God, it's in you. No. But there is something genuine reflecting, and that's the beautiful thing about the Quran, that term Khalifa, that you are vicegerent, you're presenting, but it's not yours. And that is my evidence. Well, how do I know that there is a powerful one? Because I'm terrified and I'm sick and I'm unable to do one thing in a moment, and the next moment I'm able to do it. It's not from me. And that becomes an inner evidence. So it's not like we're just wishful thinking, but it's genuinely, you experience it. And the delicate thing is not to let it become shirk, that it's me, somehow I'm a little god, which can happen a lot in various ways in which our society or our nafs, our ego, wants to go that direction. And also it can go into disappointment and depression, because I know I didn't do this, so it was good luck, I can't do it again. No, there's no point to going in there too. The one who gave you the need is inviting you to long for and experience that beautiful quality, a manifestation of that beautiful quality, as you said, Sister. I mean, it's not even the quality itself, but we are experiencing a shadow of the shadow. But even that is really exciting.
Yes.
I'm really grateful for this subject, Dr. Omar, and all these conversations that has been happening.
Alhamdulillah. So just to emphasize, because I think it's very important, when you are terrified in front of this new thing, but you are longing for it, this is actually an invitation to look for the divine support. This is the terrifying feeling comes because you feel I can't do it, and that's true. And that's what our nervous system is saying to us. It's basically that we can't do this. But when we turn to the divine, we realize that actually the divine is supporting us through the potential of manifesting his divine attributes for this particular thing that we are longing for. So that brings this divine trust. In fact, divine trust by itself is an act of surrender. So if we go it that way, it's actually La ilaha illallah. We are always doing that. La ilaha illallah is this feeling of being terrified, is that there is nothing here that can do this with my own accord. So when I turn back and I feel this divine support coming from within, I realize that only this divine unknown that is making himself known every moment, I can do it. And then this becomes a way to do it, and also to know him, to realize that it's all about knowing him, but also to be grateful because we knew from our experience that we were not the source of it, because we experienced what happens when there is no support. So that was a wonderful point. I think there's another, thank you, there's another hand, S. Yusuf.
So it's a dua. It's a dua, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And in last weeks, it's Yunus alayhi salam's dua, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min dhanba. So it's the La ilaha that you just mentioned, just to make the connections, inshallah. Okay. Go ahead, Esma.
Assalamu alaikum. Actually, this is Asma. My son, set it up with like S. Yusuf.
Okay.
Basically, I mean, I'm so sorry I didn't, listen to it 100%, and it seemed to me like it was almost like a psychotherapy. But from my point of view, my formula from Quran is, I just follow a simple formula that if let's start from the basics. That Quran says that we are here for worship. So we cannot worship someone until unless we know him. So we have to know him through Quran. We study Quran, and then this is how, you know, we find out about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his qualities and everything. And through that process, we figure out that ourself, you know, our nafs. And then we have to train our nafs. So until unless we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we cannot love him without knowing him, obviously, we cannot change ourselves. And once we know all those things, and then we can figure out the bottom line of all this is that Allah is the source of everything. Even happiness is given by him. Like, you know, I was just listening to somebody who made a presentation on Sakina. Sakina is itminan and all that stuff, you know, mutmainna feeling. That is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to, like, I agree with you all guys that, you know, we have to do our part. We have to train our nafs. But it is all God given to, and when we have to do our part, then, you know, we have to train our nafs. But until unless we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think there's no way that we can know our own self and our you know, faults and our shortcomings, and, you know, and only through Quran we could find that out. That was my stance or position, and this is, you know, this is an all life journey. And basically, I think it's given, happiness is given from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also the happiness is, you know, two types. I mean, you know, it's one is internal happiness. We see in the West people very happy and all that, but what is the true happiness? So that has to be, I think, given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after we do our part. I mean, that's I just heard something about the happiness, and I thought that is the it's a two-way street. I mean, we just can't have happiness on our own thinking and with our own understanding. It has to be through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He helps us to get the happiness, and happiness between, and actually muhabba, you know, between Muslims also. In one of the verses in the Quran, Allah says that he's the one who puts love in your heart. So I think that even with the emotional brain and our heart, Allah is the one who is in control, and we need his help in all this.
Thank you so much for the comment and your expression. I just would like to say that true happiness is not different from a person to a person, or a tribe to a tribe, or a religion to a religion. When a person really is truly happy, he made the connection with the divine at that very moment. For some people, this is very fleeting, because, as Dr. Yamina mentioned, because they don't have the structure that would support what this would mean for them. It comes for a moment and then it disappears. But it might be more longing, more continuing for other people who are aware of what's going on. One thing, though, that I would like to mention is that we can't just say, you know, somebody, they are happy, but because they are not following the Quran, they are happy, but this happiness is not good for us. We need to really ask the question, are they really happy? If they are really happy and they are fulfilling, like, it's the way to think about it is this way. A car is manufactured to go on the highway. If you put this car in the sea, it will be unhappy. So by very definition of the car manufacturer, this car will be mostly happy when it is on the highway and it is maintained properly. This is the true happiness of the car. The same way, if I am created, my true happiness is in following my fitra, my nature. If when I go against my nature in any way or any way possible, then I will be unhappy. So there is no differentiation between people on this very subject. Now, as a human being, if I realize what these emotions are given for, and I realize what belongings are given for, and I realize that I am the conduit of this divine attributes, I am not a separate, limited, left alone individual, and then I follow the dua, the praying and turning towards the divine, then basically I am turning towards a life of fulfillment. Whereas if I am not connected towards, how can I be happy if I'm not connecting to my source, which is the very basis of me, right? The very basis of me. I mean, if you look below, you won't find anything actually. There is nothing here that you can define and say, this is exactly who I am actually. Because the more you go down, you say, this is all created. This is all created. This is all created. This is all created. What is it that I can say, this is me? You go down. You go down. You realize, oh my God, I go down. And each time I go down, I realize I come to this place of emptiness almost, nothingness, where, because we are connected to the one that is behind all the manifestations, and he is every moment sending us something. So that's why there is nothing in creation that we can identify as us, because everything is fleeting. With the meaning of servant, in fact, is realizing that we are servant of this one who is every moment in another shan, in another creation, in another expression of himself, and that's how we know him. So our knowing of him is not separate from our experience of life, in fact. So the knowing becomes, we have the creation, the world, which shows us his divine attributes. We have ourselves. We have the revelation, Quran. We have the embodiment of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they all are mirrors to each other in a way. So I just wanted to.
The other thing is this: in the end, finally, what it depends on if Allah is happy with us, because there are so many.
How do you know? How do you, if Allah is happy with you, unless you are happy?
Right. So I'm saying, no, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in regards to the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they are happy, he's happy with them and they are happy with them. So that's the ultimate.
Exactly. So he is connecting his happiness with their happiness of him. So the way Brother Zafar asked about the evidence. What is your evidence that Allah is happy with you if you are unhappy with your life? So just by putting religious terms and saying, but Allah, everything is Allah's hand, we will be all so good, doesn't actually cut it. We really need to go down and say, am I really happy? When I wake up in the morning, if I am not grateful that life is given to me, then how can I say if Allah is happy with me? Allah is happy with me when I am happy with him. And I am happy with him when I am grateful and excited about this journey the most. And this happiness, this excitement of this journey is real happiness. That's what I'm trying to come to, is that it is not separate. There is no religion and world. There is no experiencing the life and then being religious somewhere. It is the same. The Quran, all the religion, all the revelations are given so that we can live this life to come to the verse that you mentioned. Happy, Allah happy with us, we happy with him. So it's actually an art of living. It's knowing how to live, how to know ourselves, how to know our. What is this thing called human being? It's actually perplexing. It's you can't. I can't define it. It's unbelievable. Like, who is this thing that's called human being? You walk somewhere, somebody says a word, you feel, oh my God, I'm unhappy about this, and then there are some emotions. You go pray, you feel better. It's unbelievable. We are actually in a very mysterious place, and this experience itself is the, if you will, the face of God, the conduit where the divine is disclosing himself to us in this very life we are living, with our kids, with your interaction with your cup of water, with your interaction in your daily life with the air, with walking, with going out and driving your car. So
it's subjective, totally subjective, which is us, and objective will be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we might know during a lifetime, or we'll find out when we.
Actually, we can never know the objective, because all of our experience is subjective. Even our knowing of God is subjective. But But what we can know is we can know that through the system that he has created, which is what I try to present today. It's through reading ourselves, reading the cues of what's happening, although all of it is subjective, through the subjective experience. Like it's like tasting apple. You probably tasted apple, and if I ask you, no, I don't think you really tasted the real apple, you will say, you know what, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you know, I really tasted the apple and I know what apple is. So it's the same way. Your experience of the divine is like your tasting of the apple. Whoever says whatever they say, it doesn't matter. It's your experience. You say, you know what? I tasted it. I know it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is by itself is the evidence, because the evidence has always to be subjective. Otherwise, we cannot relate to it.
Yeah. It's like the halawatul iman, you know. So
yes, perfect, exactly.
And then just following the Prophet ﷺ will lead to obviously happiness. Following his Sharia, I think. Action. It comes down to action finally, you know.
Sister Isma, I think if we come back to the totality of the lecture, it's a bit hard to kind of simplify it into one sentence. And I wanted to highlight this connection between worship and happiness. You talked a lot about happiness, Dr. Omar, and so what is that connection with worship? And it's actually you have already connected the two, you know, in a very kind of seamless manner. We're created for worship. We're created for happiness. And how is that related? One way to think about this is I'm thinking about the ways of worship, and it comes down to these three things that we keep mentioning throughout the daily prayer in Salah: Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, and Allahu Akbar. And all of that is an expression, can be connected to happiness, not happiness in the everyday life, people partying sense. You know, you have already clarified that with Sister Yamina as well, that in that sense of being at peace with the creation and the creator, being happy in the sense of being fulfilled in yearning for seeing the face of God, seeing the beautiful names of God. So all of these are actually present in all these three major expressions of al-Budiyya, of worship. Like Subhanallah means, oh God, you're free from any fault, injustice. And that is only possible when we are living consciously as muhsins and stop whining about things of why did this happen, it wasn't supposed to happen. These are all that kind of misperception of what's happening in the world. When we come to a state of fulfillment, we can turn around and say Subhanallah, even if it was an event I didn't want, I didn't like, I can come back and say Subhanallah, because you are the one who enables me to learn things through this. You are the one who made me not like this imperfection, this ugliness, and so on. Same with Alhamdulillah, an expression of gratitude. That comes only when we are grounded in that peace, in that rida, in that happiness. Allahu Akbar, again, glorifying God. You're amazing. How do I know you're amazing? That is a celebration. When you look at and say, well, I am powerless, and I see your power, a glimpse of your power, a shadow of your power manifesting through me. That's a moment for Allahu Akbar. I think one of the challenges is that we tend to sometimes see religion, put religion and religious phrases into a box and say, well, this is what you do, and you get blessing for it, and you have to push yourself to do this, to say this, and then you'll ultimately be rewarded for this. To move that from that state of understanding to a space where our Budiyya, worshiping, glorifying, comes easy to us, because we are seeing it everywhere within us and outside us, and that and even to call that state as a state of peacefulness and happiness. I think we're getting there, but I think one of the challenges is we tend to think religion is this box that we need to carry, rather than something that is deep in our bones and deep in our soul, that is fulfilled and at peace and in gratitude, even in difficult times. And it's a journey, but
Yes.
I do appreciate that you shared.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Isra, and thank you for Sister Asma. This is actually was a wonderful question, and it was allowed us to open this part. In fact, as Sister Isra mentioned, Subhanallah is really wow. Is the wow? How God, you are amazing. Its feeling is this in this space of being so excited about the creation of God, the gratefulness, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. You are even more than that. It's actually always being in this state of unknowing. Whatever I know of you, you are much more than that, and being in that excitement. Now, when we add these three together, we are invited to an unbelievable, amazing, exciting, happy journey. And then you might then say, oh my God, this makes sense. But this is not how religion has been taught to us. That's another conversation. But wow, now we can basically bring back the spirit of all these actions to their space. Think about a prophet, peace be upon him, where he is talking with excitement with trees, where he touches the rocks in his hand, and they say, oh God, how beautiful you are. And then he receives the same from them, where when it rains, he goes out to experience the raindrops on his back. Think of a prophet where he is so peaceful, he is so happy with life. He talks with the kid. It doesn't bother him. He's not like, oh, I am so important. No, there is nothing even importance in this life. He is like, oh my God, this is a divine expression. And he is so close to his wives. Think about that romantic relationship he has. Not oh, this is my duty kind of relationship. We're talking about love, and I want to emphasize this because somehow we take this religion as a duty instead of realizing that the whole thing that the Creator brought to us is to enjoy this exhibition. Enjoy, and I want to emphasize this word because we have this almost like a guilt about enjoyment, as if everything we enjoy somehow has some sin in it. I'm not saying that's what you said, but somehow, that's my experience anyways, sometimes, with what I have learned in my earlier days. But when we realize that actually even the things that don't do are to allow us to enjoy more the do's. It's not about not enjoyment, it's about more enjoyment. Don't waste, because when you waste, that feeling of gratefulness decreases. Because feeling of gratefulness is much more deeper enjoyment than eating and throwing everything in the garbage. We become, basically, we lose the spirit of it. See, there is, anyways, this is a long topic, and I probably, Sister Rimia probably talks about this a lot, so I will stop here. But I'm very thankful for this question because it allows us to make this connection. There are no two separate things. It's one. God wants us to really, really enjoy this life. Really, really feel totally blessed in this life. This life is really, really for us. It's not for the non-believers. It's really, really, really for us. I want to emphasize this and put many, many, many highlighters on it as much as I can. I think we came probably to the end of this time. There is some comment I read here, chat. We need to unpack what religious terms pack up, and that's what I, as Omar, are trying to achieve. Oh, okay. So yes, thank you, Usame. He says yes, exactly. We need to pack these up. What do these really mean? That's a beautiful way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to comment?
I have a Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I have a question, and jazakumullah for this building of that goes from last week, mashallah, and building together. So when it comes to the longing and the channel and the conduit and really having this opening to have the beautiful names flow through us, that the understanding of that comes very easy. And so we mentioned the challenging circumstances. And so when it comes to a challenging circumstance, for example, witnessing an injustice towards you at a workplace, or some sort of situation in family, since we're constantly being given opportunities to train with family members, I'm just wondering, mashallah, Brother Omar, you mentioned this, in order to really have that moment of opening, to be that channel or that conduit, there has to be like a period of silence, of really observing the feelings that come to us all of a sudden. And so sometimes, we have these asma al-jamali, or these beautiful names that are, there's less resistance to be a channel and just open and flow. And I'm wondering if, when it comes to this sudden need to be firm, or this sudden need to express a message, maybe firm, and really that's my question. It seems like there's a feeling of disruption first, right? Like, this is going to disrupt me from my place of peace and beauty and flow. But then there's also a need at the same time to express maybe something more firmly, or to stop something happening before you. And so I'm wondering if the balance with that, how like there has to be a balance with that as well, right? Because there's also needs for these more, the opposite of the beautiful names, but the more like, firm, or and so it seemed, and somehow like I'm getting this feeling like this moment of pausing is key. And you mentioned that a lot, and staying with the feeling, because then if I notice what's happening in me, like there's a need to express something, or to stop something happening before me, or to express something firmly, then that first moment of acknowledgement seems everything, or else there's a reaction, and the reaction is already a deviation from a witnessing, a place of witnessing. And so I'm wondering if the answer then to this question is, in that period of silence, in that moment of witnessing the feeling coming onto me to be firm, then acknowledging that and like flowing in that way. But it's also, again, it's like not, it's on the firm side, because really that's what's happening when we're, I don't know, for me, I guess the challenging circumstances, when there's suddenly a need to express a firmness, to defend a message that you stand by so firmly. And then so the balance of doing that without being reactionary, or again, that reactionary perspective seems more ego. So then how do we balance the flow and being that conduit consciously? Yeah, that's my question. Or is it a delusion? And perhaps maybe it's a delusion, because sometimes it does feel like a disruption, and then there's a need immediately to come back to a place of peace.
Expressing a divine quality.
I'm sorry, but
a divine quality, whether it's firmness or power, which sometimes and many times actually needs to be there, if they are coming out of see, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Everything actually, that all the divine names actually are the expression of the divine love, the divine mercy and compassion. Sometimes compassion needs to be shown as firmness, as power, as actually should really be just and do it that way. But behind it, there is always this feeling of peace, of tranquility. If you are outside of the space of peace, outside of the space of tranquility, outside of the space of compassion and mercy, and then you are not acting from the place of true being, of being the expression of the divine. Now, sometimes certain things happen to us, and we feel that we want to do something. But what can we do at that moment? I will give you an example from Sayyidina Ali, may Allah sanctify his soul, when he was in one of the battles, and so basically it's a very famous story. The other person spit at his face, and he was about basically to take his life. So when he spit at his face, he stopped doing so, because at that very moment he felt the reactionary, that this action that he would take, which is taking life, would not be coming out of expressing the divine quality of justice, or trying to find peace, or trying to get to basically where peace is everywhere. It's coming out of, I am wronged and I have to get even, and that is not coming from that peace space we've been talking about. So at that very moment, he didn't. He stopped, and actually, his stopping was an expression of the divine quality. The expression of a divine quality that, oh my God, I will not act according to how my nervous system, my ego wants me to act. I will wait, so I will stop that. And through that action, the other person sees that and says, oh my God, like what happened? And he explained to him, he said, whatever you're drinking from, I want to drink from the same thing. I want the same Kool-Aid. I want the same thing. This is an amazing way to look at life. See, this is the heaven we are invited to. A heaven of living true to our true nature. And that is true fulfillment. So if you feel that your reaction, you are reacting not from your true nature, stop. Go to a room, or whatever. Sometimes we can't stop, so and sometimes we act and then we say, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Then we can probably go back and try to fix it if we can. But first we need to come back. I don't know if you see this screen, but come back and see come back to God and ask for help, and see, where my being is. And then once we find that divine support inside of us, then we can act again. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, Jazakallah, definitely does. And my second comment was, it seems like there's a lot of, like, my colleagues who are finding this way of gratitude and this way of flowing with the feelings, and almost like without the Quran and the Sharia, really like exploring these laws in creation of how to find this place of peace and happiness by really like gratitude and all of this. And so I suppose then when we talk about the happiness and how it lasts, and this is back to Sister Yamina's conclusions last week, that what the aspect of it that points to the divine names, when we say lasting, we mean beyond this world, which is the aspect of it then that necessitates the Quran and the Sharia, right? Because there's a lot of people exploring these lives of gratitude and energetic flow and feelings and going with my feelings and the fitri aspect of it. But when we connect.
Yeah, so basically, I actually mentioned 4 or 5 Quranic verses and some other hadith, but I didn't quote each one of them while I was talking. One reason, and maybe I should have brought more hadith and show that this is actually what is being said. The Quran is an explanation of the truth of life, and sometimes introspection can give us glimpses of it, not the whole picture. So not only the Quran has all the truths, many truths are found just by sitting somewhere and doing an introspective way, because we are ayah, we are sign of God. Everything is a sign of God. So if somebody sits somewhere and really reflects on it, God will send him. Actually, everything is an inspiration from the divine. God will send him an inspiration. The beauty of the Quran is that we have an amazing message, that it's cohesive, it helps us in all ways, it's complete, it's like, oh my God, like it has the whole picture. So that doesn't mean that, oh my God, if somebody didn't read the Quran, they will never find any part of the truth. That's not true, because first of all, the expressions of divine truth that are everywhere. We see, for instance, I'll tell you an example. Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, who is a Muslim scholar, a poet, a mystic. His poems are all over the world, but his work is an inspiration from the Quran. So people, when they read this, they say there is truth in it. Oh my God! So any truth is your truth. Don't don't escape from it. Let your heart and mind say, wow, subhanallah, this is what the Quran is saying. Yes, because the Quran and the truth and the experience that you get from the divine are all coming from the same source. So following our heart is actually following what the Quran is telling to us. The Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him tells us, if something doesn't feel right to your heart, don't do it. There are actually not one but several hadiths like this. So that can be another topic that we can talk about. But what I'm trying to say is that there is no two separate truths: the truth of the Quran and then the truth in the world. And now, since we are Muslims, we have to follow some alternative truths. But this truth that people are finding, and they are finding some solutions, that's not good at all. No, instead of that, we can say, subhanallah, this is unbelievable. What the Quran is telling us is actually inviting us to a full experience of life. That you might hear a word or two from somebody and say, that's beautifully said, because they have did their homework. What did they do? They sat for hours reflecting on the creation of Allah. You know, when Einstein says, when I look at the stars, you know, I say that I don't remember the exact quote, but he has so many quotes talking about the creator of the universe. And then he says, you know, the creator of the universe that I see is not the one that some of the scriptures talk about, because his experience with religion was not what he was seeing in the creation. But subhanallah, the Quran is not limiting us that way. Now, I will have to say this: the culture has limited us in these ways. So you have to get out of the cultural background that we have been imparted on when we were kids, and come back to the reality of the Quranic message. And you realize it's so open in the sense that not limited by these very small boxes that you know, we have been taught somewhere, which is similar to what Einstein said about some other boxes he has seen in some other religions. The beauty, the divine, basically, to come back, and maybe we can end with this. The divine is sending us to this life to really, really, really know him, worship him. Worship in the sense of experience this majestic, beautiful creator that is creating everything with beauty and majesty and with love. This is not non-Quranic. This is Quran. You know, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you, O Prophet Muhammad, except as mercy. Mercy, not mercy as we feel like a part mercy, but as a womb, as a loving mercy, as a tender love to whole creation. This experience, the more we come close to it, and we realize that actually all the Quranic rules and regulations, which are not many actually, are inviting us to experience this fully and fully. Then we say, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, like I am, you start to say, I am the proof that the Quran is the truth. Because you start to say, my life is working 100% with the mechanics of this world. There is no separation between what the revelation is bringing and what your experience of your life is. Because you see, subhanAllah, the author of these two must be the same, must be one. Thank you so much for this beautiful opportunity, always receiving Noor.
Dr. Omar, do you,
yes.
I know I gave you a misinformation about how long the session is going to be, but do you need to be somewhere? Can you stay around a little bit more?
I can stay a little bit more. I am alone with my son, so if he needs my help, I will have to stop. But right now he's okay.
Okay.
He was sleeping, so he woke up, but he's now doing his own things. So I'm available, but I'm
okay.
kind
so
of.
We have. I think we do have some more comments. I see Sister Yamina's hand is up, so we'll continue to discourse a little bit more, inshallah.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is just a short comment. It's related to Sarah's last question about So we said we pause and reflect. That pausing, when, for instance, something happened and I feel a reaction, so I'm not coming from that space of being connected to the fitra, connected. I'm not in a surrender. I'm not in a state of surrender to the divine will. And so I'm not ready to act in the name of God, meaning being aware that I'm only reflecting his divine names. When I stop and pause there, I don't just pause and just wait there like this. First, it has to be intentional. I'm making the niyyah, the intention to be as abd. So that's why I cannot do this. I cannot do this if I live my life unconsciously all the time, and then suddenly when I have a problem, I'm trying to be in a state of ubudiyya. That can't be. That's why we have to experiment or make the effort to live consciously as abd when things are easier to deal with, because then it's easier to get the hang of it and become it. And so when there is something like this and I am thrown out of that connection with my Rabb, I feel that I'm reacting like something is being done to me. The other person is hurting me, and I want to take something to hurt them as well, to defend myself at least, to protect myself at least. So something is going on between the two of us, for instance. When I pause, because if I'm living as abd, I would feel that something is wrong here. And so I pause and make the niyyah to remember. And in order to remember, I have to know, to have been something that I remember it. And so I remembered to be abd, meaning that abd sees everything that's going in the world as rububiyyah activity. And so it is, this thing just didn't happen to me haphazardly, randomly. Someone came and a colleague did something to me. No. That person may have, and we come back to the three aspects that Imam Nursi mentioned. The other person may have, I don't know their intention, I can't open their heart, that's up to them. Now I come back to the qadar, the connection with the divine, the creator, and I remember that this is happening on purpose, with meaning, with wisdom, with rahmah, and it is an ayah from my Rabb. And when I look at it that way, even if I can't see it, it is my intention to do so when I am in that silence, in that listening phase. So sometimes it may take long when the hurt is big. I remember sometimes it takes me days to get back in that particular situation, to get back to that state of full surrender. And it's fully, yes, that person did something to me, very bad maybe, or I felt very hurt, but it's still rububiyyah, it's still my Rabb is bringing something into me. It's the challenge in the exhibition, so that I grow, I have something to clear up maybe. And so it is done with this intention. As a abd, I listen. And I remember that this is coming from my Rabb, regardless of the intention of the other person. And it is then that I will, inshallah, start seeing the ayat, because the ayah is not the thing that's happening, but the interaction, the thing that's happening and what it brings into me. Did it bring anger, fear, sadness? What does this mean? And I listen to the message of the ayah. And then when I get it, and when I start hearing, it means I am back to that. I'm within the flow of surrender. I'm trusting my Rabb. And so even if I have to act firmly, this is what the situation requires, I will act firmly, but with compassion, with love, with forgiveness, I'm not angry at the other person. Actually, I'm taking action, but I am also in my heart, or in even the words are not going to come in the same way. They won't have the same energy, the same intonation, and everything. So just wanted to add that, so that we don't think we're going into a room and waiting there until something will come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's another hand.
Very quick questions. I was looking at the Quran. What is the word for happiness in Quran? Fareha, right? In Quranic vocabulary, happiness.
No, not necessarily. Farihu is actually mostly used in a negative
way. Okay, but farehun, farehin,
But in the Islamic tradition, it's used as more as sa'ada. And the verse you mentioned before, it was not even sa'ada, it was radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhu. So rida. Rida has this acceptance with it.
So the closest would be then sakina, right? I don't know. I mean, there's no...
Yes. However, as Dr. Omar mentioned, for instance, we can go hundreds of years back. Imam al-Ghazali, for instance, we're talking about hundreds of years back. His book was the alchemy of happiness. So this word sa'ada was used as a generic word to bring all these, because it's not one word. There are itmi'nan, there is rida, there is as you said, farihun. There is it has different expressions. It's not expressed as one. There is la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun, like in that word, in that verse I mentioned earlier. So these are concepts that are not necessarily one-to-one. It's like a general feeling of fulfillment, of inner peace, of like resonance, basically, with one.
It's used in Quran only twice. Wasaid and wasadu. One verb and one noun. Mm-hmm. Only 2 times. But
so what's the point? What's that means?
Okay,
Yeah.
It says
No. I mean, what is the point you're trying to bring across?
And I'm just trying to find, does Quran lay emphasis on happiness? And what is the vocabulary that Quran uses for happiness? Is it that, is it so important? What is...
yes, in fact, I'll actually tell you something very interesting, sister. You can read all the verses about the paradise as invitation to live in paradise in this life right now. And you can read all the verses of hell as invitation to live this unhappy, hellish nightmare life right now, here. When you look at all of them, actually the Quran says the seed of the heaven starts here in this life, and the seed, one becomes tuba, once becomes the tuba, which is the expression of the heaven after you die. The other seed is zakum. The seed of zakum becomes hell. In that sense, the seed is right now what you are experiencing. What you are experiencing is either in your heart, in your connection with the divine, as we have been talking, in being in like total immersion with this, oh my God, like as Imam Ghazali says, for instance, life cannot be better than it is right now. That's what he's saying. It's unbelievable, actually. You say, really? Really? So the reason we say really is because we have not come to a recognition or an acceptance or an understanding of being and recognizing what this very moment is, like he did.
Very important point, yeah. Because you cannot be happy in paradise without being happy here, right? That's what you're saying.
It is important because we cannot be truly grateful. We cannot truly trust God if we are unhappy with His creation. So that's why Imam Ghazali said, لَيْسَ فِي الْإِمْكَانِ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا كَانَ. And as Omar just mentioned, it's not. Don't look at one word or two, because there are so many words for happiness, and the word Jannah itself is for us. How do we understand Jannah?
Yeah. No, that's a very important point, that you have to be happy here first before being happy in paradise. You can't bypass this and have be unhappy here and then go to Jannah. It's not possible, right?
يا أيها النفس المطمئنة ادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. So it has to be مطمئنة. It has to be fulfilled.
Sure.
I just wanted to add one thing about earlier, again, Sarah's comment where she asked, how is it different from the other things, you know, people refer to gratitude and so on, but they have no reference to religion. And it's partly, I agree with what Brother Omar said, and also partly I want to emphasize that sometimes terms match, but what being talked about is not exactly the same thing. So when somebody says, I'm grateful in Thanksgiving, I'm grateful, that is a very kind of initial, very basic sense of being happy. I'm grateful to what are you grateful? Are you grateful to nature? Are you grateful to evolution? Are you grateful to your luck? Are you grateful to yourself?
They're grateful to the things themselves.
I'm just grateful. Like that unclarity is completely different from the Quranic invitation to being grateful to the one who is making you, who's creating you, who has brought you here and is taking you to eternal life. So that's a completely different concept.
Even what's important is when I am grateful to God, as Omar had said few times, you get that point of support here and now and forever. But if I'm grateful for to the things themselves, deep down, I know that there is nothing to hold on. So there is no deep inside, there is no fulfillment. There is some happiness, yes, because it's a fitri law, sunnatullah, law of creation, but it cannot be truly fulfilling. Even here and now, not only in Akhirah, even here and now, deep down, there is that feeling of there is nothing, you are not grounded. There is no point of support.
And there are different levels. So some people may be very, as you know, you can focus, you can take time to get away from your limiting beliefs and so on. And it does bring you to a level of much more being relaxed and peaceful and confident than other people. But as long as it's not connected with the transcendent, with the creator, the eternal, it is abtar. It doesn't take you where the Quran is taking you. So definitely there is a major difference between the two. I wouldn't say that without the prophetic connection, either through the Quran or another genuine scripture, a truth present in a genuine scripture, we cannot make that move of living fully happy, fully fulfilled in the sense that we were meant to be as Khalifas. So there is beautiful stuff out there in secular approaches as well, and we can see them as pointing to the fitrah, pointing to an immense potential, but it in itself is not sufficient. So it isn't another version of the Quran. It isn't. It is a beautiful starting point to reach out and open up to the divine message through the prophets. Definitely, and it's much more Islamic than some of the things that pass off as Islamic, that where I am constantly inside myself complaining and miserable and not happy and not saying whatever God created is beautiful. I'm not in a state of tasbih and takbir and hamd, but I am doing my 5 daily prayers from outside. I am checking all the boxes. So yes, I mean, there may be people who are in a state than more believing state than I'm a more Islamic state in a sense than me, who appears to be kind of following things. But that doesn't mean that whatever is found in the Quran can easily be found in somewhere else. If we think hard, or if we feel hard, or if we meditate hard, we cannot actually get there, because if we could, then that would be superfluous for the Creator to reach out to us through the Prophet. So that's I wanted to highlight that as well. I don't know what you would say, Brother Omar, to this, but
yeah, beautifully said. Thank you so much. However, I would like to emphasize something: is having the Quran is not the same as understanding it, and that's the biggest challenge we have. It's our experiential understanding of the Quran, which is basically receiving the Quran, receiving the good news from the Quran, is not the same as reading it or reciting it or having it in our houses. So that is a very good distinction. I pray I am, in my early stages of this reception, right? Because every time the reception happens when you really click with that verse and you really open to this subhanallah, you're the as the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him used to do, they say is after reciting verses, he would say either alhamdulillah or subhanallah or some other words. Is basically he's interacting with it. He is receiving something that makes him utter the words, "Oh my God, you are amazing." That's a reception. So that's something that I also would like to emphasize as well.
Jazakumullah khair. So, alhamdulillah, this has been a fruitful session. Is there anybody who wants to say, who hasn't spoken so far, who wants to say something that they wanted to share at this time? Okay, if not, then we'll have to stop here. Jazakumullah khair again, Dr. Omar, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless our days and our fasting, and may Allah open us to receive His message from any of His creation and from His speech as well. Ameen.
Ameen. Ameen.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair, Omar.
Thank you.
Assalamu
alaikum. Thank you for everyone for comments and questions. Jazakumullah khair.